So on this notice, without even spending a little extra moment, I'd like to invite Tathagat. He's a VP, as you already seen him speaking, and he will be speaking on effective agile management via innovation games. One of the tricks which few companies in India have started to across the board, which Tathagat will be talking about, whether you want customer feedback or you want to improve the morale of the team, how innovation games are playing a big role. Over to you, David.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
दोनों साइड प्रेजेंटेशन होना चाहिए वीडियो
I'll just talk, and if you are in a mood to participate, we'll get some people to come here and have some play, have some fun here. Right? How does that sound? Sounds good? Okay, thank you. So, how many of you are feeling sleepy right now because you were watching Chile, Uruguay, or England, or other matches, or what have you, right? There's no football crowd here? But you're awake? You wanted to be awake here for the conference today. Okay. So let's do a quick thing. I want to actually understand what games do you guys like and what games you don't like. So it's okay, we will have multiple opinions on that, but I just want to understand. Give me some names of games that you like. We'll see as a group, do we have an opinion on what games do you like? Football we like? Not a single hand went up earlier. Soccer or football? Okay. So we like soccer, cricket, tennis. Okay, do we play a lot of tennis in India? We watch it. Yeah? Okay. Okay, I think that is okay. Can you give me some names of games that you do not like? Sorry? Golf. Why is that? Okay, we'll come to that.
Very costly.
Anything else? Any other game that we as a group don't like?
Wrestling. Boxing.
Wrestling we don't like. Boxing, wrestling.
Kabaddi.
Have you tried them and that's why you don't like?
No, actually I don't like the culture that for hitting someone you are being awarded.
Okay. Look at it this way, for hitting the okay. You are getting awarded for getting hit also, right? Sometimes.
That's fine. Hitting with words is good, not with arm or limbs, right?
Okay, any other game? So some of the reasons you told actually why you like it, why you don't like there. Can you think anything other than that? Some of these reasons you mentioned, like you don't like people being paid just to hit somebody, may be a bad reason. Golf, some of you said it's very costly, that's why you don't like it. Any other reason can you think of? Let's start with this. Why do you like these games?
Teamwork. Soccer is teamwork.
Every game is teamwork.
Exciting.
Right? Even chess requires a lot of teamwork. You have one person playing, but 5 people were helping Vishwanathan Anand, right? That was his team. The teamwork, I guess, is a given in every game. Are we okay with that? Because I'm sure teamwork is there in. These are all, they all seem like individual games. You all have picked up individual games that you don't like. And these are the ones that are team games. Is that by design that happened, or is that the thinking that we have here as a group? Anything else? Can you help me with that? Why do we like games? Sorry.
We like what we understand or what we can understand.
Okay.
Games we don't understand, we don't like what we
That's possible. But then, okay.
it depends on your interest. Someone
Yeah, because I'm sure nobody here has played Formula 1 yet.
yeah.
But we still like it. So we do understand it without having played that game, right? Okay.
It depends on your interest. Someone might like boxing, someone might not like cricket or something.
Okay, fair enough. So when we talk about game, what does the anatomy of a game look like to you? If you find all of these like you said, teamwork is a common element, common theme that you see here. I want you to think what is an anatomy of a game that seems like common thing, irrespective of whether it's a ball game or whether it's a 5 people team or a 10 people team. There are 4 or 5 common elements of every game in the world. Sorry, let's go one by one. Winning the game, okay. Rules.
Game plan.
So you said rules are the ones.
Fun.
Then
Game plan.
game plan.
Excitement.
Is game plan a part of the game or a game plan is a part of the team's thinking? Strategy. Goal. So don't you think these also have goals? Golf, actually, people say that that's the only game that you play against yourself. You don't play against the competitors, you play against yourself. So your goal is like a sprint team, keep getting better from the previous time, right? Anything else? Support, and can you elaborate on that?
Every minute excitement.
Every minute excitement,
Fun.
fun. Anything else? Okay, let me just add some of these points from my side as well, right? And so there are 4 or 5 elements of game that are common. You identified some of them. Let me help you with some of the other ones. The first, when we talk about, is what we call as the game space. The game by itself, you need to think as an alternative world. This is not the world you and I live in. We have a different set of rules here when we play that, and the moment we step inside the game field, the rules change. Get the person up, hug them, and then move on. Right? In cricket, sledging is considered as a part of that. For example, if you were to do the same sledging to some stranger or a colleague in the office, can you imagine the consequences of that? But yet in the game field, we decide to lose our identity for that moment and absorb ourselves into those rules of the game. Right? I might play badminton and I will never do any sledging because badminton culture does not support sledging. But I might go to a cricket field and a very well normal family person can start sledging there. Is that right? Because that's considered as okay to do that. Right? And if I was that evening at a taekwondo field, guess what will I do before start hitting out my opponent? I will first bow down, right? I will pay the respect to them. So there is a different space of the game that we are talking about. Every game has some space. Every game has a different space there depending on how the game is played. Do you agree with that? The second thing is about game is boundaries. Let me explain what are the boundaries. There are 2 major boundaries. One is the time boundary. Every game has a finite time of start and a finite time of end. So for example, if I am not allowed to hit somebody below the belt, there is a time for that this 45 minutes is the gameplay on. After gameplay, those rules don't apply to you. After that, you can become a normal human being and you can behave the way you want to behave. Right? So there is a time element that's important because it tells that now once the whistle blows, you have to start following those rules. Those are non-negotiable rules, right? You talked about rules here, but there is a time boundary element to that. Similarly, there is a physical boundary element to that. You see all those football matches. They are referees and I'm sorry, not the referees. They are managers or the coaches, right? They are all yelling there. They have been given some small box in which they can operate there. They cannot step onto the field and start telling people how to play. The same players as well, they have certain rules within the box. The goalkeeper has certain rules there in the D itself, right? He can touch the ball inside, he cannot touch the ball outside and so on. So there are not just time boundary, but there are physical boundary rules as well, right? The third is the rules of interaction. You talked about rules here. Obviously, there are rules in every game, and those rules are important because those rules we decide as players to have common agreement upon, right? The moment there are different rules for different people, we start getting upset there. Now think about it. Have you all seen those wrestling, worldwide wrestling, where the lumberjack, or I don't know what they call them, where they start throwing chairs and all that, right? What happens to the rules there? There is a complete collapse of the rules, right? At least to somebody who sees that. So try to think of it this way: if there were no rules, what would happen to the game? What's your point of view on that? Suppose there were no rules in the game. You would have chaos, right? The whole game will collapse within no time there, right? Because if everybody starts jumping into that pit and everybody starts playing, then where is the question of any game happening, right? Similarly, if there are very stringent rules, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you have to do this, you have to do this, that kind of a thing there. What do you think will happen to that game? It's very boring, it's not a very fun kind of a thing anymore, right? So the kind of rules have to have a very right balance between having no rules to having all the rules in the world, right? We have to play a fine balance, and they have an impact on the excitement actually. If you remember, there was that change done in the power play, and that power play resulted in more runs being scored there. It made the whole T20 or one day at least a batsman's event rather than a bowler's event, right? Because of changing the constraint that you can only have this many players during the power play, for example. So that's how the rules really change the excitement for us. The rules are an important part of it, and as much as we say no, we don't like rules, the reality is you need some rules, otherwise the whole system will collapse there. Then the second last thing is the artifacts. There have to be some props, some artifacts. For example, if you're playing football, you have to have a ball there, you have to have a goal post, for example. If you are playing, for example, Formula 1, you actually have the race track. Within that, they are playing, you have a car there, you have the flag which is telling you how many laps to go and so on. And then finally, you have a goal, which you identified here. A goal is something that keeps the whole excitement going on. That is how much more time you have. 3 overs and you have to make 20, you have to score 21 runs, and the whole ticker is going on and the home chart is gone and all that thing. So any game, if you really see, is actually a combination of these 5 things, and these 5 things are subconsciously at play. I don't know if you figured out or you thought it in that many words as the anatomy of any game before this discussion, but I'm sure whenever you look at any game from now onwards, you can actually dissect that and say, okay, I think this is what is one of the things that we talk about from a games point of view. Now you must be wondering, why am I talking about games here? The reason why I'm talking about games here is, with this, whatever we discussed in the last 10 minutes, so work is, would you agree that work is a game? We have certain rules, we have a physical space that defines the work actually, you have boundaries there, you have time related. For example, if your boss keeps calling you at 2 in the night and says, where is the status report, would you respect that job? You probably will not, because that boss is actually intervening, is interfering with your rights of the time boundaries of the game. When your boss is actually calling you up at 2 in the night, right? Or physical space. If you go to a movie and you see that boss has come with his family and then he says in front of your family, hey, you guys did send me the status report last night. That would not be done, right? That would be very unprofessional way of doing it. So you are breaking the physical boundaries. We Indians love breaking the boundaries, by the way, right? So we Indians think it's perfectly okay for us to bring the work to home and consequently do the home stuff at office. Right? It's a very osmotic way of doing things for us. So that's why it might be a wrong example for us. But would you relate to that? Would you want your manager to break the time boundary and then say, I'm setting up a call? How many of you actually get an invite from your US counterpart that the next QBR or next MBR is happening at 3 a.m.? I'm sure some of you do get that, right? What do you feel? You feel like killing that guy. But you cannot do that, right? So you have to find some balance out. But you don't like that kind of a thing. None of us like, because we have certain things on place. So the work has a physical space. Work has a sense of boundaries there. Work has certain rules that we have all agreed upon there. Work has certain sense of a goal, that these are your KRAs that you have to look at. And work has the one more thing which I talked about, which is artifacts, right? How can I forget that? Status reports. but you have other artifacts as well, right? We are creating some knowledge assets or artifacts, and those are the ones there. So look at it this way. Now, if the work itself, for you, would you like work to be right here or here? I'm sure you would want it to be here, right? You would want to get paid for getting hit, right? Like in a boxing ring, but you would want that. So you want the excitement, you want some thrill, you want the speed probably of that, you want the whole dangling at the edge kind of a thing, and you don't know what's going to happen, right? Because the last 2 overs are left in that kind of a thing, and you probably want a gentlemanly game like football, for example, right? So you want that. Now let's think about it, let's go a little more step further and talk about in the context of Scrum. Because we've been talking about, and we are at an Agile conference, so we need to talk about something relevant there. Would you call Scrum as a game in the same definition? Right? Would it make sense to call Scrum as a game? Don't look at it as a process for now. Just look at it as a game. Yesterday we played tennis. Day before yesterday we went out swimming. Last week we all went out hiking at the mountains. Tomorrow we are going to do Scrum. Right? That's the game. That kind of a thing there. Right? Or whatever is your favorite software methodology. Right? Now, you start looking Scrum with a totally different set of things there that says, okay, so why do these guys say that there has to be a daily stand-up? Well, go back to the team and talk to the team and say, guys, Jeff Sutherland says, Ken Schwaber says there should be a daily stand-up for 15 minutes there. What do you guys think about it? Does it make sense for us to do that kind of a thing there? If you are a new team, have you heard of, so if you are a new team, what will you do? You will either resist that, or at some point somebody will say, okay guys, just do it, let's play by that. At some point in time, you might question that and say, why don't we change it? I mean, is it okay for us to sit down actually? I mean, what you mean to say is that we are not allowed to sit down? Is that how it is? Or it has to be 15 minutes only? Why it cannot be 2 meetings in a day for 10 minutes each? Or why it cannot be 1 meeting in 2 days for 20 minutes there? You see what I mean? You are experimenting with the rules because the players willingly are willing to change the rules of the game there. Don't look at it from process part of it alone. It is bringing the whole element of players being in the center of the equation, which changes the whole perspective there. So that's one part of how to look at a game. Now with that example and talking about that from an agile point of view, I want to now come to the core topic of the conversation, which is how do we apply this whole concept of gaming into innovation. Now, when we talk about agile, do you believe that agile kills innovation or agile actually helps innovation? How many people would say it kills innovation? One person, sorry, you are in deep minority here, but that's okay. How many of you believe that it actually spurs innovation? Into innovation. Now, when we talk about agile, do you believe that agile kills innovation or agile actually helps innovation? How many people would say it kills innovation? One person, sorry, you are in deep minority here, but that's okay. How many of you believe that it actually spurs innovation? Okay, half the people are on the fence actually, because they don't believe it is either way there. I'm sure this issue has been beaten to death. At the last India, I was moderator for a session where we did that with few people and we were discussing on some of these things as well. The one thing definitely that is Agile provides you the framework to actually do some of the innovative stuff there. But suppose you are actually in a Scrum team where your velocity measurement, you say, look, you guys are doing 23 story points. What is the expectation for the next sprint? Same or more. Same or more, right? But what if you signed up for 30 story points and you could only deliver 25? What does it tell about your team? Okay, I'll rephrase it. If every time you say I'm going to do 30 story points and you actually end up completing all the 30 points, what does it tell about the team? Sorry? They underestimated, but they were able to finish. They are not challenging themselves, which essentially means they are not thinking out of the box, which essentially means they are taking a very safe approach, which essentially means they are not taking any meaningful risks to try out some new way of doing things. They are playing too safe to As we say, they are playing very close to the fault line. It's just about enough amount of work that they do, and they know if they do little more than that, there is a risk in that, and they might not meet the velocity estimate. So would you want to work on a team that always hits velocity estimates 100% of the time, or would you want to work for a team that actually goes 120% of the time or 80% of the time? Sorry? Second one is 120%. Third one is 80%. Okay, just a small detour. Manufacturing world, we have machines everywhere. How much do you think on an average is the utilization of machines in the manufacturing world? Any guesses? 80%? Any other? 60? 100? So you are right actually. The global average is 80%. But we don't, what is the global average for loading human beings onto the work? 100%? Undefined, it's an undefined function, right? So the point is, I think we don't think twice about when we have to load the machines. I roll back. The machines, when it comes to that, we realize that they have a finite life. They will break down at some point in time. They need preventive maintenance. They need regular downtime once in a while, and they need to do that. So we can load them only about 80%. But with human beings, we don't have that regard. We don't recognize that they need a downtime.